We've been saying it for a while. Giannis Antetokounmpo has to make a choice. Stay in Milwaukee or contend for a championship, with the belief being that he's going to ask out from the Bucks and go try to win somewhere else. Now we are as close as we've ever been to that step being taken. We've already got teams getting identified where Giannis could land. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Going to be a busy summer, the summer of trades around the NBA. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications. And a great way to help the channel, watch this video all the way until the end. I'm going to give you my prediction for where Giannis lands. All right, let's take a look. This is Shams Charania of ESPN talking about the latest on the Giannis front.
Greeny, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time NBA MVP, he has not made any firm decisions about his future, but sources tell me for the first time in his 12-year NBA career, he is open-minded about whether his best fit is in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere, and exploring what those options outside of Milwaukee look like. Is it sensible for him to potentially leave? And I'm here in Chicago. This is the summit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. All 30 decision makers are descending upon this city now. Agents all in town. There's going to be plenty of natural, substantive conversations that are going to be taking place here. And we've known over the last several years, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been very open-minded about at least expressing that he is going to explore options because his goal is to win a championship. He said it over the years that my goal, I only want to win and compete for rings. He said it on his brother Tanas's podcast last month that if I don't retire, if I retire without winning a second championship, he's not going to be able to essentially sleep at night. And so that's his goal. What is that best long-term fit? And for the Bucks part, of course, they want to continue to build around Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they're going into an offseason where they have one first-round pick that they can trade 6 years from now. They don't necessarily have cap space. They have top-heavy salaries. And again, that $54 million contract on their books for next season with the Damian Lillard, whose season is in jeopardy next year with that Achilles tear. So Giannis, for the first time as a Milwaukee Buck, is open to exploring what it looks like potentially outside of Milwaukee.
All right, there it is. Open to exploring what things will look like potentially outside of Milwaukee. Now, my belief is simply this. And by the way, Shams, the Chicago pre-draft combine is what's going on right now. That's why we're going to get a lot more news coming out, because most of the league is together right now in the same place. So these conversations are going to start taking place. But Giannis isn't going to want to be seen as the bad guy here. He isn't going to want to be seen as the guy who is forcing his way out. On the flip side, we've already got word that the Milwaukee Bucks, this was a few weeks ago, would not trade Giannis unless he asked out. So we're kind of like tiptoeing on that line here, where Giannis doesn't want to disrespect the fans in Milwaukee, doesn't want to seem ungrateful for winning a championship there, winning MVP awards, winning all sorts of things in Milwaukee. He doesn't want to say, that's it, we suck, I'm out. But that's the truth. That's the truth. He just doesn't want to say it in those words, and I don't blame him, because he's a nice guy. I don't blame him for taking that approach. That's the way that he should do it. But I think him being open to it means that, this is starting. This is happening. Giannis is going to ultimately want to leave Milwaukee. Now, you look at the cap realities of the Milwaukee Bucks. This is why he can't win in Milwaukee. There's no moves unless something shocking happens, where some team just says, you know what, Milwaukee, you take our good players. Unless something crazy like that. And as far as I know, Nico Harrison is not the GM of any other franchise other than the Dallas Mavericks. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The Milwaukee Bucks do not have the pieces to win right now. They have aged out. They're probably going to be looking at losing Brook Lopez this summer. Damian Lillard, his next season is over already before it started because of that unfortunate Achilles injury. Maybe he comes back at the very end of the year, I suppose. But even then, what is he? There's not enough here. There's not enough here. They don't have enough draft capital. And it's in the best interest, not just of Giannis, it's in the best interest of the Bucks, too, for Giannis to go somewhere else. Why? Because the Bucks are stuck. They don't have draft capital. They don't have young talent. How do they get that stuff? You trade Giannis. That's how you restart your future. Now, will that hurt them in the short term when it comes to ticket sales, when it comes to wins, when it comes to all that? Yes. But right now, they are at best a treadmill team, and that is where you do not want to be in the NBA. At best, they're a treadmill team, and they'll be wasting Giannis Antetokounmpo's final years in his prime. He's 30 now. He's only got a certain window where he's going to be in his prime, and he needs to be able to capitalize on that, and he simply can't do it in Milwaukee. So if it's truly that he's going to be losing sleep over not winning another championship, bye-bye Bucks. He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. And it may be indeed the best thing for the Milwaukee Bucks, because they will get a haul. They're going to get 29 teams making the call on Giannis Antetokounmpo and seeing if they can get into the mix. Now, Brian Windhorst talks about some of the potential landing spots for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and some of them, oh boy, they are really, really interesting. Check this out.
Do not control their first round pick for 5 years. That means if the Bucks are going to trade him, thinking that they're going to tank for the next 3 years and rebuild, is not going to happen. They need quality players. And the other thing that you need to know is, if you're going to trade Giannis to a team that's going to be a super team, getting that team's draft assets is not exciting, because they're not going to be very high picks for the next few years. So you're going to look at teams that have players to trade and other teams' draft assets that they can trade besides theirs. So San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston. Pay attention there. And the other thing is Brooklyn, because Brooklyn has Phoenix's future drafts, yes, but Brooklyn's current players, not that strong, not as exciting of a player acquisition. The other team to watch, the New Orleans Pelicans. Why would I say to watch the New Orleans Pelicans? Because the New Orleans Pelicans control the next 3 drafts of the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you're going to do a deal with the Bucks and you want to open the door for them to do a rebuild, you may have to go to New Orleans, try to get the Milwaukee stuff out of New Orleans, and then offer it back to the Bucks. Of course, the Pelicans could make their own offer, but I.
Okay, so let's pause right there, because that's exactly what happened with Brooklyn and Houston. Brooklyn was not going to trade Mikal Bridges last summer until they were able to get their own picks back, and so they could firmly actually tank. So what Wendy is talking about here is that, look, if the Bucks are going to trade Giannis, they want pieces back that can help them win right now. Multiple players that can help them win, that are younger at least, but guys that can play, because they don't have their own draft picks, so tanking doesn't make any sense, right? So he's talking Houston, he's talking San Antonio, which, by the way, regardless of which path, whether they want to tank or not, Houston, San Antonio, those two teams make a lot of sense. There was a piece out today that I'll talk about a little bit later on the Houston Rockets and their plans moving forward. I think that is, to me, Houston is the front runner. They're the team. If they want to get in on the Giannis trade talks, they absolutely can. And I think they could potentially put together the very best package, though certainly the San Antonio Spurs can get in there as well. In fact, this was written about the Houston Rockets today. That of all the possibilities this summer might bring, the idea of the Greek Freak donning a Rockets jersey is seen as the most intriguing within the organization. The cost most certainly would be exorbitant, with the collection of draft picks, veterans to make the money work, and young talent or two to be part of the package. And because of how Antetokounmpo best operates as a primary playmaker and a hub on offense, the prospect of him playing alongside Alperen Sengun in the front court, if he wasn't dealt, would come with its challenges. But not only is Antetokounmpo widely considered to be one of the league's top 3 players, but he's still young enough at 30 that the runway for the Rockets' future would be long. Yep. And again, the Rockets, they've got multiple very talented young players. They've got future draft capital. In fact, they have a lot of Suns picks into the future. A lot of teams, I believe, want to short the future of the Phoenix Suns. I think the Rockets will be in prime position, but San Antonio right there as well as another team that could certainly get in the mix. My God, could you imagine Giannis with Wemby together? That would be insane. We're talking championships in San Antonio. You put those two guys together, and of course, the Spurs would know that. But it's interesting that Wendy also brings up the Pelicans, though, saying, look, if the Bucks do decide, so the Bucks are going to want back pieces that can win right now. So Alperen Sengun, right? You've got pieces there. Is it Jalen Green? Who is it that you're trying to get from the Houston Rockets or from the San Antonio Spurs? What can you get in a trade? But even if you're not looking to get win now pieces, then you've got to get the New Orleans Pelicans involved so that the Bucks can get some of their own draft capital back so they actually can tank. So that could turn into part of this too. Maybe a 3-team trade or something where draft capital from New Orleans for whatever, we don't know what just yet, but New Orleans would have to be compensated, but they would give back some of those Bucks picks, maybe all of them, to Milwaukee, so Milwaukee can truly tear it down, rebuild with their own draft capital, because otherwise losing doesn't make sense if you don't have your own picks to benefit from it. So again, similar to the Brooklyn Nets last summer, once they got their own picks back, that's when they said, okay, we will trade Mikal Bridges now because we can tank and actually benefit from it. And by the way, I thought the Nets got an incredible return on Mikal Bridges. We're talking about 5 first. Now he's doing some good things in the playoffs right now for the Knicks, and we'll see if that continues. But they got a haul, and they were able to do it in part because they got their own picks back. So New Orleans becomes an interesting team to watch. Maybe not as a landing spot for Giannis, because I don't know that they're ready to win right now. Maybe the Pels do say, you know what? We want Giannis for ourselves. Does Giannis want to go there, though? That is going to be a question as well. I think the Milwaukee Bucks will take the preferences in terms of landing spot of Giannis Antetokounmpo into account. Because of what he's meant for the franchise, because of what he's meant for the city, they're going to do him a solid. They're not going to send him wherever. They can. He's got 2 years left under contract. He can say, I only want to go to cities X, Y, or Z. He has a player option for a 3rd year. But that doesn't mean that the Milwaukee Bucks have to send him there. Look at what happened with Damian Lillard. So that is part of the conversation as well. But I do think the Milwaukee Bucks will take Giannis's thoughts into account. Let's just finish this off here and see what Windhorst had to say at the very end here. All right, and that's another good point. The draft lottery is tonight, which means we could have a major asset or assets landing in different spots around the NBA. When the draft lottery occurs, we'll know who gets that number 1 overall pick, and that could give a team some ammunition to go get. Like, my God, what if Houston gets it? They've got Phoenix's pick. What if Houston gets the number 1 overall pick? It could certainly happen. And then what? Would they flip that pick and go for Giannis? I'd strongly consider it if I'm Houston. Giannis is Giannis. In fact, let's see what fate brings us here. Utah look at Houston moves up to number 3 in this scenario. If Houston has the 3rd overall pick, do you put that plus maybe Sengun or something else into a deal and go get Giannis Antetokounmpo? I'd have a hard time not exploring that. If I'm the Houston Rockets, they could very well bring home an NBA championship if they do something like that. All right, everybody. I asked y'all to watch the video all the way to the end. I appreciate all of you for doing so. I'm going to make my prediction on where Giannis is actually going to land. I think it is going to be Houston. I think that's where he goes. All the talk about, oh, no. They really like Jalen Green. That may be the case. But this is Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the Greek freak. You have a chance to go get him, especially after that disappointing first-round exit. This is where the playoffs really matter, right, in terms of the trade market. The playoffs change what teams will do on the trade market. The Houston Rockets, they feel the sting right now, the hurt from losing in the first round. They don't want to experience that again. I believe that despite how much they're putting out there right now about no, we love our guys, we love our young team, we believe in their future, that may be so. This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. If he's available, they need to do what they can to go get him. So I do believe it's going to be the Houston Rockets. Part of me, though, is worried it's going to be the San Antonio Spurs, because if they get him, oh my God, that pairing would be insane, especially when you add De'Aaron Fox into that mix as well. But I think it's going to be Houston. I think they've got the most assets. I think they've got the best ability to overwhelm the Milwaukee Bucks with talent, with draft capital, with all of that. And so I think the Houston Rockets ultimately will make what I think is the correct decision. You don't have to give up all the young players, but give up some of them and go get one of the all-time greats. Everybody, give me your thoughts. Where will Giannis land? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see you and stay safe.